If you don't know the name L.A. Marzulli, I'm sure you will soon because you probably only just started investigating this thing called the Nephilim. Um, LA has been with us previously, but I'd like to reintroduce him to you. He has a very strong focus not only on these matters, but also on modern prophecy and how they tie in into what we see today. And I believe you. Hello, LA. Welcome. I'm so glad to have you join us. Very honored.
Great to be here. Great to be here. The honor's all mine.
I'm just excited that you just launched this new. Basically, is it like a weekly update or sort of a news sort of?
It's a daily update. We're trying to do a 8 to 10 minute daily update on the news. It moves away from the blog. I've written, I don't know, close to 3,000 articles at any rate, whatever it is on the blog. And video is king. There's just no way around that. Video is king. And so
Yeah.
I've got a TV studio, and we're trying to figure out what my niche really is, how things work, what gets the most people the information. And I think video, at least so far, seems to be it. If I post something up on YouTube, within a few hours, I've got a couple of thousand hits easily, and sometimes even more. And we just started the daily update this week. Now, tomorrow I'm on a plane. So, and then I'm on a plane again on Tuesday. So, over the weekend or on Monday, I'll try to get a daily update from the hotel room. And I'm going to, bring mics and stuff with me and just do it on the laptop. And it'll be kind of rough, but it's okay. Whereas in the studio, I've got I do a one camera shoot instead of a two camera shoot because it's just an update.
Yeah.
But this way, it's like content is constantly going out, and once people find you, then they go to you. I mean, they want to. Well, what's he say about this? What's going on? Is Marzulli keeping up with what's happening in the Middle East, or what's happening with Trump, or the New World Order, or UFOs, or the Nephilim? I mean, all these things tie back into the biblical prophetic narrative, and of course, that's what we're interested in: is the second coming of the Messiah, when Jesus returns, and we're all creation groans and waits that day.
Yeah. Yeah. In my own walk, I jumped onto the whole Nephilim thing on my own, but it was at a time when I didn't have internet, so research was very difficult, and I had no idea what was really out there current as far as research and everything. So I realized I should get online. It just dawned on me. I really didn't think of it up until that point when I did get internet several years ago, about a decade ago, actually. And Man, your name was one of the ones that leapt out to me. It was a radio broadcast, and I believe just it was the Cosmic Chessmatch was my
Yes.
was the
Yeah.
first conversation, and I'm like finally, because there's a lot of wibbly wobbly stuff out there, new age stuff that talk about this stuff too, and you could easily get. I got, I didn't know who to listen to, but when I heard you, I'm like, this man is on track because everything I've
Thank
concluded,
you.
and he's taken me beyond that. So that's why I really appreciate your ministry.
Well, I thank you. I really appreciate the compliment. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so I'm my focus is very much on cutting edge, but I never lose touch with people who I remember how it was to come into this and to have all these different doors claiming to have all the answers to these things. So that's why I'm very focused on introducing people to your ministry and things like that if they're not familiar.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah. So your book Cosmic Chessmatch, that was profound to me. But now you have one called Days of Chaos. Is that it?
Days of Chaos is the second and the last book. The last book that came out was Nephilim Hybrids.
Yeah.
Let me just give you an idea since you're talking about it. Um, Here is the Cosmic Chess Match, and all this is available by going to lamarzulli.net.
Yeah.
There's Days of Chaos, and the newest one is Nephilim Hybrids. So, I'm releasing another book out actually by sometime right before Christmas. It's called The Sunday Go to Meat and Bun, and it's a compilation of my little sermonettes that I write every Sunday, and there's a lot of meat in those pages, a lot of meat,
Yeah.
and we're selling a lot of them, and people seem to be anxious to get it. So we'll start shipping on the 19th of December.
The particular broadcast one, when I first heard you, I didn't know immediately whether, but I'm thinking to myself, this man must be very strong in the Lord because this was a secular program, and they were a bit dodgy with you. I mean, at the time, I'm like, if he's got to be a believer. And sure enough, I was not surprised to find out just you also have a strong reputation, a very good reputation as a man of the Lord, and that's to be complimented also.
Well, I'll set the matter straight. I'm a sinner saved by grace, and anything
Amen.
that I might appear to be is only because Him working in me. He's divine. We're the branches. I can do nothing apart from Him, and I really mean that with all sincerity. I remember reading for the first time in the Book of Revelation when the elders cast their crown. That's something I sort of do when I'm speaking or at a radio show like this. After the show, I just cast the crown. I take 3 steps back from it and just give it over to the Lord because it's all His anyway. It's amazing how much He actually allows us to play with all this stuff. It's unbelievable. The glory is all His. There's no doubt about it. And without Him, I'd more than likely be dead decades ago. So I've been walking with Him for 36 years, be 37 years this June. So it's been a while.
Science, the supernatural, biblical prophecy, global events that threaten to rattle the very foundation of human existence. Critical examination of the most important issues facing today's modern world. Welcome to the Sharpening Report.
So I can totally relate. A great number of my if you want to say followers, people who follow me, a great number of them are, I guess you would say agnostic or even atheist. But they're not put off. They have a high interest in these things, and so I like for that as they're convinced of everything else that we see, that they begin to become convinced of some of the other things that we can't see, such as the kingdom of heaven, as we call it.
Well, I'm a frank supernaturalist, and I believe that the supernatural is more real than the natural world around us. And I believe in the biblical prophetic narrative, which discusses a myriad of supernatural events throughout its pages. In fact, if we were to dismiss or remove those supernatural events from the biblical prophetic narrative, we wouldn't have much left. A few genealogies, some
Yeah.
battle reports, that's about it. So when we read about men who walk on water, water that's changed to wine, the virgin birth, 2 gold coins appearing out of the fish, mouths of a fish, staffs that turn into serpents, floating ants' eggs, talking donkeys, rocks that gush out water to feed millions or to quench the thirst of millions of people, and on
Yeah.
it goes. I mean, what are we to make of that? And obviously, in my opinion, those are not folk tales. They're not just nice little stories that are in our Bibles. That is the supernatural manifesting in our reality. And of course, what makes it even more interesting is the biblical prophetic thread running from Genesis to Revelation, which calls out the Most High God, calls out the end before the beginning and the beginning before the end. He alone can do that. He alone is God, period. He alone calls these things out a priori in advance and does so with great specificity on His part. And that being said, we are in a window of time, unlike any other, in my opinion. Israel, the chosen people, are regathered back into their ancient homeland. That's unprecedented. We see that they are surrounded by those who pose an existential threat to her very existence, including one of our illustrious presidents, Jimmy Carter, who's trying to persuade Obama to divide the nation of Israel, divide it. And once again, the land for peace. It's beyond the pale. It's unbelievable. And of course, all this screams hails back to the biblical prophetic narrative. It talks about the Psalm 83 war, which my friend Bill Sallis is responsible for putting that on the radar. It talks about the Isaiah 17, the destruction of Damascus. It discusses the Ezekiel 38, 39 devastation of this coalition of armies that come together. And we're seeing Russia, Turkey, and Iran talking in sort of in bed together. And that's never happened. So we see a lot of unprecedented events all throughout the Middle East, which point back to the beginning of the end times, in my opinion. And I think we're in the last of the last days, tenuous, tumultuous times, unprecedented times, unlike anything I've ever seen. And that's why the book Days of Chaos, even though the people don't like to hear the title, churches are waking up, and they want me to come to their church and speak specifically on that book, on Days of Chaos. That's what right now, that seems to be a buzz, because they realize, wait a minute, this isn't normal. We're not going back the way it was 20 years ago. This isn't normal. We're in a whole different window of opportunity, as it were. Jihad is something that no one knew what that word, very few people knew what that word was 20 years ago. I had studied some of the Middle East. I read some books about it. This goes back 25 years ago, and knew what jihad was, knew what the mujahideen were, but thought it was not a threat to us. And boy, man, was I wrong. And now we see that the jihadis are global. They're everywhere. And just this week, we had another nut job in Ohio, pull a fire alarm, wait for the people to come out, run them over, and then start stabbing them. Now, you can say whatever you want about this. We can tap dance around it. We can state that, well, you know, he was just misguided. He was this, he was that. The bottom line is radical Islam is here to stay, period.
Yeah.
And until we have a president, and we will have a president-elect, Trump, who will actually address it and is not afraid to mouth the words, whereas Obama is lecturing us and, oh, wait a minute now, let's not, lump this into Islam. This isn't what Islam is. Of course it's what Islam is. That's exactly what we see with ISIS. We see the subjugation of women in Sharia law, where they can be beaten by their husbands. I'm not making this stuff up. There are imams who instruct their husbands how to beat them, when to beat them. It's just unbelievable. Women wear all these. I did this on a daily update today. A shot of all these women in black burqas. I mean, this is, I hate to say it, but it's anti-American. And this is why in Europe, they're in different countries, they are banning the burqa. These people don't want to assimilate. They want Saudi Arabia here, and that ain't going to happen. That's why Trump was elected. We're tired of the multi-culti. We're tired of the politically correct nonsense. Americans come first, not refugees, not foreign workers, not immigrants. Americans come first, and that's how it should be. And we were called by Hillary Clinton. I was one of those. I was one of the members in that basket of deplorables, because I just stated those things. Americans come first, and that's how it should be. And of course, Obama is allowing thousands and thousands of immigrants across the southern border. No one's vetting these people. And look, the drug trade down there is through the roof. The drug trade has ruined countless millions of people's lives and continues to do so. And it's coming across the southern border. And we will see when Trump builds the wall, and he will build the wall, we will see two things happen. The drug flow will begin to decrease greatly. And of course, the immigrants. I mean, there are schools in this country where there's 45 languages being spoken in the schools. How can you possibly teach them when there's no common language, which used to be English? But now, if you say that, you're a racist, and it's just unbelievable. Why don't we move to Mexico and demand that everyone start speaking English, or go on their healthcare system, demand free education, demand free healthcare? I mean, we'd be thrown out of the country in a New York minute. But over here, somehow we can do that, and it's just nonsense. So this is where we are, and it's part of the end time mix. All that to say, we're to love everyone that we meet, extend the love of Jesus, of Yeshua, to them. But if it's not given back to us, or we see or detect hate or bigotry or an anti-Christian bias, then we take a step back, and the gloves come on, because I'm not a doormat here. and I never was supposed to be a doormat. I will love you as the best of my ability, but if you're trying to kill me, then I've got a real problem. Or if you think Jews are descendants of pigs and apes, I've got a real problem. Or if you think the United States should be under Sharia law, I've got a real problem. Period. I just really do, and most Americans do. And now it's being voiced by the by the not real news media, which is you and me, by the way, because God forbid we discuss anything. We have an opinion. Only the people on Fox News and CNN and all these ridiculous networks. Only that's real news. Meanwhile, someone's typing all this stuff up, and the pundits who are reading this stuff off for teleprompters are reading the stuff off the teleprompters. We're actually having real dialogue. Now, there are shows that actually have real dialogue, but you know what? It's the same pool of people that they draw on day after day. Watch Fox News. I can tell you exactly who's going to be there. Geraldo Rivera, Juan Williams, Dana Perino, and I like Dana Perino, you know, but it's the same people endlessly repeated, you know, there's never anybody new. You know, there is on O'Reilly. They'll bring some new people.
You can literally flip from channel to channel sometimes and hear the same dialogue word for word. And I'm like, what in the world? Really? Really?
Alternative news is forbidden. Nonsense. Alternative news should be heralded as cutting edge, as the purveyor of information. And real discussion, because that's what we're doing here. We're discussing things, and we're not afraid. And we're not afraid of a 20-second, you know, soundbite. That's all I got, and I'll be cut off and whatever. We can have a discussion, and we can. And that's why I do the daily updates. You can go to ppsreport.com, or you can go to my YouTube channel, L.A. Marzulli, and watch the daily updates, or watch 28.5-minute shows, which are hopefully educational and instructional, as I travel to different places and discuss them. So that's what we do, and I'm excited by it.
I'm convinced that I'm seeing people by the droves losing the taste for just your popular news here. Once they get a taste of this type of media, how we're presenting things in a way that it actually fulfills you. You come away with some answers. Not like when you go to, I'm sorry if you're a person who is into psychiatry, but I feel like you go to a psychiatrist, they point out your problems, and then put them right back on you, send you back out the door, tell you to come back next week for the same thing.
Bingo. And that doesn't work, does it?
No, it just keeps the psychiatrist with a nice job.
There you go, exactly.
And, you know, I totally agree with the whole Middle Eastern sort of, the Muslim takeover of America. You know, while our attention is focused by the media on terrorism and things like that, and outright violent acts like this young man, calling him a man actually leaves a bad taste in my mouth. But while our focus is on that, we have the soft takeover. You know, they're buying properties, houses, and moving in, settling, and this is the long-term goal is to take over America, and so that's happening all the while. Where I'm not really, I don't consider myself a political person, but that's where I totally agree. Where the financial expertise of somebody like Trump might actually make the difference, coupled with his attitude.
Well, I think, look, Trump's not the Messiah. I mean, I get that,
Absolutely.
And I don't view him that way. What I do view him as is that someone who might be able to drain the swamp, and that's frankly what we need. Washington is probably the most corrupt it's ever been, at least in my lifetime. You've just got all sorts of nonsense going on down there, and had Hillary gotten in, and it's not over yet, folks. She's going to try one last grasp with the Electoral College, the whole Jill Stein thing, even though it appears like it's a real long shot. I don't trust these people as far as I could throw them. Yeah. The elites are terrified of Trump, and Trump's no dummy, and he can't be bought. They can't go to him and say, well, we'll give you this or we'll give you that, and kick the can down the road. He's going to drain the swamp because he realizes that the country, it's just like the deal he made with Carrier this week. The fact that, I don't know what went on behind closed doors, But for a president like that to go to Carrier and say, hey, what are you trying to do here? We need jobs in America. And if you go to Mexico, you try to ship this stuff back, I'm going to tax you 35%. Whoa. So now we're doing the math, and the accountants are counting the beans, and they're going, well, we'll just stay here and keep the 1,000 jobs here. And that's what we need to do. Americans come first, not this multi-culti nonsense. And that's why Hillary would never have done something like this. She would have applauded the fact that we're moving things down and let's bring more immigrants in. That's what she would have done. Let's flood the nation with people from the Middle East and then wonder why we have complete chaos in the country, which is what we have already. There's a clip I showed today, December 1st, on the Daily Update, where Trump is talking about monitoring the mosques. And I realize this is controversial, but this is the breeding ground. This is the breeding ground. It's just like the FBI with the Ku Klux Klan. That was the breeding ground for the radical right-wing hate groups that hated blacks and Jews and Catholics. We have no place for that in the United States.
Yeah.
We have no place for that kind of mentality. And we have no place for the kind of mentality that we see in Ohio or in Orlando or in the streets of Boston or San Bernardino or the Fort Hood shooter. We have no place for it here. And like I tell people, malls are a soft target. When you go to a mall this year to buy gifts or whatever you're going to do, you should have your spider senses tingling, because they're soft targets. They're soft targets, and that's what they want. They know that they're coming. People are coming there. I guarantee we're going to see something before the first of the year. We are. This is what it's going to be until Trump takes over, and then he starts slamming it down.
Yeah.
And he needs to slam it down.
I hate to say that the kind of people who instigate these sort of things, or this is their mindset, I think they set their calendar, because I'm noticing these things annually. I'm starting to say things like, you can almost bet that there's going to be numerous global threats that are suddenly imminent come each fall. I'm seeing this pattern. I think it's to affect the economy, and there's these other patterns, and it continues through the new year. It's no surprise to me. Before it slips my mind, we were talking about just this sort of media in general, and I think it's very progressive for people. They're appreciating it, but at the same time, I think the other side is quite aware of losing, feeling a sense of loss here, and I wonder if just how much. Well, I'm very dubious about this whole. About the just our president selling the internet, basically, just to put it out frankly. And he just gave it. I feel very sold out.
Gave it away. Gave it away.
So I wonder what kind
why
of
would he
future.
do that?
What kind of future do we have here?
Yeah.
You and I.
Why would Obama hand over the internet? And really, I think two things may happen. I think even now as we speak, guaranteed there are a group of people, I don't know who they are, in this country who are already going to make some sort of an alternative to it. They will. They're gonna, because this thing's gonna go south very quickly. We all know that it's gonna go south already with Twitter forbidding Donald Trump. I mean, free speech is free. We can say, is abortion on demand, and we kill as many babies as possible. But if you disagree with that, then all of a sudden you're a radical. All of a sudden, your speech, we won't tolerate your speech. It's just absolute, the height of hypocrisy. It's incredible. If you've got a Christian worldview, well, you can't have that. If you say anything against Islam, well, you can't do that either. Look, man, there's a branch of Islam which is absolutely radical. The jihadis are real, and even if 1% of the 1.6 billion Muslims are radicalized, that's hundreds of thousands of people running around on the planet. And this is the problem. You've got Daesh, ISIS running around in Iraq, and these people are, who would have imagined these people concocting the most barbaric ways to kill people? One of my favorite stories this year, it's a feel-good story, is there's a British sniper who's in Iraq, and there's a group of ISIS, and the ISIS guy is reading his his paper, blah 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 blah. They got the videos rolling. The guy next to him has a flamethrower on his back, and in front of him are 12 people. Four of them are women. Four or five of them are women.
Oh
Okay,
yeah.
and basically what they're going to do is after this clown reads his paper, the guy's going to light his flamethrower and he's going to burn people alive. That's what he's going to do. I mean, this is the face. This is supposedly the religion of peace. Then we need to have
Yeah.
a discussion here. Everybody decries it, but then we see the same type of stuff. Some nutcase in Ohio plows into a bunch of people that he doesn't even know, and is probably yelling "Allahu Akbar" as he takes his butcher knife and tries to stab as many people as he possibly can. So the sniper waits until the guy is done reading. He's a mile away. Okay, he fires one round, and that round pierces and goes through the flamethrower tank, which blows up the guy holding the flamethrower and the nut job reading the paper. Then they storm the area. They rescue the 12 people. I love it. I just love it. And
Oh.
12 people got saved.
I,
Really cool.
I saw a photograph, but I didn't get the whole story. That you just connected the pieces for me. I saw that
Great.
picture of the guy's body laying there. That wow, I had no idea. I knew they saved some lives, but I didn't know just the
That's how it
circumstances
happened.
there.
They were,
Wow.
they were going to flame throw them to death.
Yeah.
And the sniper picked up on it, blew the guy out of the water, and then they came in and rescued the 12 people. So, there is good does prevail over evil at times, thank God, and it will prevail.
Yeah.
I think that the political landscape in the Middle East is about to be shaken to the core in the next 49 days once Trump takes over. We're going to see him move very quickly, very, very quickly. It'd be very interesting to see what he does with the gangs. And what I love about him, he's not telling everybody what he's going to do. He's not signaling like, well, Obama gets up and tells us, well, we're going to, bring these troops over here. Well, Trump is not playing that game. When Trump decides to do something, he will move swiftly and militarily, which is the way he should do. He's not going to ask permission from 40 countries and then do it. He's going to go do it. And frankly, that's what we need at this particular moment in time.
Yeah.
And, it'd be very interesting to see what this guy does. I think it's a breath of fresh air. Meantime, the church and Christians need to be on our game. When legislation comes up in the House or in the Senate, if these clowns start playing footsie and start, not passing what the people want, we need to recall them. I'm dead serious about this. We need to recall them, elect new people in. We need to get on the phone. We need to be participants in, and it's not a democracy, it's a constitutional republic. We
Yeah.
need to be participants in the constitutional republic. And the way to do that is to, if the guy that we elected is not doing his job or is not doing the will of the people in his state, then he's out of here. And we elect somebody who will do the will of the people.
Yeah.
And that's our follow-up.
Yeah, even if you are of the mindset of, and I kind of am of, our vote really doesn't matter, but we owe I can't have a good conscience if I don't do my best, if I don't give my all, if I don't do my part. Whether or not, I leave that up to God, whether or not my vote matters and things like that. That's my opinion, but that my actions still have to give me a good conscience to lay my head down at night. If the world goes upside down, at least I know I did my best.
Well, and that's
yeah,
that's a great way to live. But I honestly think that your vote and my vote does count.
yeah,
Coupled with the millions of other votes, that's why this election
yeah,
went for the Donald. If we had all stayed at home and done nothing, Hillary would have been elected, and the rest would have been history.
yeah,
So, all that is wonderful. That we're in a window of time where we might be able to prevail
yeah.
over the swamp which is in Washington
I'm
and the
a-
weasels who live.
I'm agreeing with you. I'm encouraging people who, like myself, don't consider yourself political minded or things like that. Don't be asleep at the wheel here. I mean, we've done it before. We've done it in the past. We've regretted it. Now's the time to not do that anymore.
I agree.
I have been guilty of that in the past. I will admit. I just couldn't see the future though, and that was my quandary. So I didn't make a choice. But not making a choice and it is in essence making a choice, at least in my mind.
No, it is. It's exactly it. If we abdicate our responsibility, then we abdicate our responsibility, and that's not what a good citizen should do.
Yeah,
The fact that we're able to vote. Look, Trump was never supposed to be there. I blogged about, or this is the vlog, the daily update. It was always about the House of Clinton and the House of Bush running against each other, which is really the same person no matter who you vote for. It'd be the same old cronyism, the same old footsie nonsense that we see throughout the Washington elites. And Jeb got blown out of the water, and he didn't know how to handle it. And next to Trump, he looked like a kid, looked like he was wet behind the ears. He had nothing new to say. Hillary offered nothing new. All she could do was sit there with this goofy grin on her face, which made everybody, just go, "What is wrong with her?" That little looking around like she's somehow superior to Donald, and very extremely condescending. I think people saw through that, and that's why Florida flipped, and North Carolina, and Pennsylvania, Michigan, they all flipped. The so-called blue wall isn't a blue wall. People have had it, and this, I think, is America's last chance. And this is why we've got to stay on it and stay with the political process.
yeah, I completely agree. I'm on board with that. Before we, how are we on time there with your schedule?
You got about 10 minutes.
Okay. Well, before we get away from it too far, I do want to bring it full circle back to the supernatural, because there are a lot of churchgoers who might be looking right now, who I want them to know, and you're just the guy to bring in for this, that looking at these things is not leading away from the Bible. Do not be afraid to investigate it. That is the misconception that's going on, where a lot of people miss it. And I'm telling you, just understanding this whole thing, you hear this word Nephilim. I know it sounds strange to you, but look into it's in your Bible, and look into it. It actually is key for understanding prophecy, today's prophecy. I know it's not something that ended with the flood. It says before and after the flood there were Nephilim in the earth, and it leads to today's prophecy. It's key in there. There's so much symbology involved, and so I'm going to shut up and let you use up the last minutes here, but I really want you to touch on that.
Well, the bottom line is we get back into Genesis 3:15, and Jesus, Yeshua is there, in my opinion. Adam and Eve are there. The serpent's there, and the God of the Bible basically utters the first prophecy. Someone will come. The seed of a serpent will be at enmity with the seed of the woman. He, the Messiah, will crush your head. Crush your head. You will bruise his heel. That's the prophecy of the crucifixion. It's the prophecy of Messiah. And if it's Jesus in the garden, which is, I believe, who it was in the
Yeah,
garden, and that's my personal take on it, then it's even more astounding,
I
because he's
agree.
telling exactly what's going to happen. The seed of the woman, thousands of years later, becomes Messiah. We know that.
Yes.
But the seed of the serpent, only 3 chapters later in Genesis 6, manifests in what is known as a hybrid entity called the Nephilim, where the fallen angels see that the women of earth were fair, the B'nai Ha-Elohim, the sons of God, and they desire them as wives, and they choose whomever they want as a wife, and they go into them in the biblical sense, and the offspring are known as the Nephilim. This is the reason for the flood. This is the reason for the so-called genocide that we see in the Promised Land thousands of years later,
Yeah.
when that mandate comes down to Joshua and Caleb, wipe out everyone there, men, women, and children. Unless we understand that these are Nephilim tribes that are there, these are hybrid entities, then we have no clue as to what we're looking at. And that's why it's so important to grasp and understand the Genesis 3:15 biblical prophetic narrative, as well as the entire chapter in Genesis 6. So when we get to Matthew 24 and Jesus tells us it'll be like the days of Noah when I return, I'm paraphrasing here, but what differentiates the days of Noah from any other time in all of history? It's the presence of the B'nai Ha-Elohim, this hybrid entity known as the Nephilim. And guess what? I've written 10 books, actually 11 books, that discuss this at some juncture, more books than not. On the Trail of a Nephilim, the Cosmic Chessmatch is certainly one to get if you really want to plumb the
Yeah.
depths of it. but something's going on, and the church needs to understand that we are at war. And unless we understand Genesis 3:15 and Genesis 6, we don't understand the war.
Yeah.
We don't even understand what's going on. We don't.
For those who still don't get it, had you ever noticed that the serpent has seed? Now you look in the book of Revelation, it confirms this war that LA is talking about, which I noticed the Lord showed me, that the dragon goes directly after, look, the woman and her seed who carry the testimony of Jesus Christ.
There it is.
It's
There it is.
completely from first to last chapter of the
That's
Bible.
it. Right there. Screaming at us. It's a seed war. It's all about the seed. It's the seed war between the seed of a serpent and the seed of the woman. If we don't understand that, we don't understand, really, in my opinion, the Bible. We don't understand it. We think we
Yeah.
understand it, but we really don't understand the grave implications of this cosmic war, which has been raging literally for millennia and is now beginning to spill out onto the planet.
Yeah, thank you, LA. You know, that totally, this revelation totally. I was already a believer my whole life, born again. You know, in ministry for over 20 years, but you know, it was only within the past 6 years that I had this sort of modern day tie-in to this thing still going on. I thought maybe it kind of petered out after Goliath or something, and that was it, sort of faded away. No. So once you, and my eyes just almost blew out of my head when I looked at that verse in Revelation. It just totally brought that's the future. So that it's, you know, brushing past us right now. It's going on around us. So
I agree.
this is important for everybody, even those who are really not into the whole. I've heard people say, I'm not into religion or Christianity. Let me tell you why. And they give me that example of, you know, I don't understand why God would order the deaths of so many innocent people back then, and you know, and that doesn't even seem like God. It doesn't seem anything like Jesus. Well, if you look at this brings it all together.
It does. Until I understood the Nephilim, I did not understand the Bible. I didn't understand it. And that's why it's key. And my mentor, the late Dr. I.D.E. Thomas, his book changed my life, The Omega Conspiracy. We carry that in our store, lamarzulli.net, lamarzulli.net.
I will show that. I'm going to provide a link. I'm actually going to do, if our listeners or viewers will just hang in there after the credits, I'm actually going to have a slideshow showing your books and a little information on that and all your links.
Appreciate it. Thanks so much, James.
Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Marzulli, and I'll be following you, and hopefully maybe we can meet again in the future.
I hope so, and let's make it the near future. Okay?
All right.
Take care. Thanks for having me on, James. Take care.
And have a great trip.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you for joining the Sharpening.
Strange and mysterious lights hovering above East El Paso tonight. It looked like a UFO.
I pray, O Yahweh, that you send a sighting.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
These are genuine UFOs in the sense that no one's ever been able to explain what they are, but they happen. They're not fakes.
I never, ever in a million years would have believed in UFOs if I'd not seen it with my own eyes.